Hello everyone! This video we're going to look at how we use Onshape to create a 3D virtual model of a small Lego brick. So let's get started. So when you're in this page here, this is your home page when it comes to Onshape. Whenever you start to design something, you always go into the Create tool here. It's a blue box. And we're going to create a new document. So I'm going to click Documents. If you get lost at any point during this video, stop it, go back a few steps by rewinding the video, play it again. You can play, pause as you go along. There's no rush. So document name. I'm going to call this, let's call it Lego Brick 1 by 1. And click Create Public Document. Onshape just takes a few seconds now. So here's my new document. You can see it's my document. I've got the title there, Lego Brick 1 by 1. The first thing you're going to do when you go into Onshape, and you hit this page here, is you're going to use the three little burger bar lines. And I want you to go to Workspace Units. And I just want you to check to make sure that you're working in millimeters. Sometimes it defaults to inches, so that's important that we're using the right dimension. So always get into the habit of doing that. So this is Onshape. This is where we can start to get creative and do some cool, fun things. And this is how we're going to go about it today. So you have three different what we call planes. So I've got a top plane. So that's me looking down on top like a bird's eye view of my object. I've got the front plane. So if I'm looking at the front of an object or the back of the object, I'd be using the front plane. And then I've got the right plane, which is if I'm looking at the side of my object from the left or the right. Having all three open or visible at the same time can be a little bit confusing. So I'm actually going to hide the front plane by clicking on the little eye, hide the right plane by clicking on the eye. So I'm only left with the top plane. But I'm at a little funny angle, so I actually want to have a view where I'm looking straight down on top of it. I'm going to take my mouse over to this side of the screen, and this is like a navigation tool here, and I'm going to click on top. So now I'm looking straight down on top of my Onshape design. So I've got a toolbar along the top here. I am actually going to talk you through this as we go. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click Sketch. Just pay attention to what happens to this toolbar when you click Sketch. It changes, but the tools I've got there are grayed out. I can't use them. And that's because when I come to this window here, Onshape has got a little blue box around here and it's saying, right sir, you want to do a sketch, you click Sketch. Where do you want to sketch? What plane do you want to sketch on? Well, I've hidden the front and the right one, so it's quite obvious I don't want to use the front or the right one. I want to use the top plane because I want to design my Lego brick like I'm looking straight down on top of it. You've got two choices here. You can either click there if you want to, or you can click actually on the plane that's visible. So I'm going to click here, and you'll notice now my toolbar that was grayed out has now come to life. And I've got some shapes. I'm going to choose a rectangle shape, and I want you to click on the drop down arrow next to it, and I want to choose center point rectangle. Click on there. Take your mouse across to this little black dot. This dot is quite important. It's the center of the plane and it helps us get things lined up. So use the what we call the origin if you need to. So I'm going to click on the origin let go of my mouse, and I'm just going to move my mouse up and out until I've got a rough square. Left click on the mouse to complete that sketch. I've sketched my square, which I'm happy with, but I need to get the right sizes, the right dimensions. So I'm going to go up to my toolbar here. Now, Onshape is quite good in the fact that if you hover over with your mouse cursor, the tools, it actually tells you what they are. We want this one here. It's like an arrow. We want the dimensions tool. So I'm going to click on dimension. I'm going to bring my mouse down and it's going to go orange when I hover over it. Left click, move your mouse up, and in there, I want you to type in 6.8. Now it's default to millimeters, so we don't have to put the mm in every time because we know our default dimension is millimeters. And I'm going to tab, there's a tab button on the left hand side of your keyboard. I want you to press tab. I'm now going to use the scroll button on my mouse to zoom in a little bit more because it's a bit small. And I'm still in my dimensions tool. You can still see it's gone blue, it's highlighted. I'm going to highlight the right side of my square by hovering over with the mouse. Left click, move the mouse away from my line. Left click again, and I want that to be 6.8 because we've sketched a square. So the height and the base are both exactly the same dimension. Once I'm happy with that, I'm actually going to green tick this. Once you're happy with the sketch, you green tick it to confirm it. There we go. There's my first sketch. I'm going to go back over here to my tool for navigation, and sometimes it's easy to get when you've got a complicated design to get a bit lost. Am I looking at the bottom, the top, the right? You don't know. This is a really handy way of getting yourself back to the start again. So use the little drop down arrow, gives me a list of options, and use isometric. That's a term that we came across in our sketching lesson, isometric. There we go. There's my top plane, and there's the square that I've sketched in my top plane. I'm actually going to hide the origin, so I don't need it anymore, but I can turn it back on if I want to later on. So there it's on. I'm just going to turn it off. I find it declutters the screen a little bit. So I've got a square, which is good, but I need to turn it into a 3D object. So I'm going to go back up to my toolbar, and I'm going to highlight this one here. It's called Extrude. The first one. It's a very common tool that we will use when we use Onshape because it turns a 3D sketch. Sorry, a 2D sketch into a 3D object. Click on Extrude, and I've got my Extrude instructions here. I'm going to leave it as solid. I'm going to keep it as new. And again, it's a blue box. It's saying, sir, which sketch do you want to extrude? Again, I've got two options. I can click on sketch 1, and you can see my sketch is highlighted orange, or I can click on the sketch. So just because I can, this time I'm going to click here, sketch 1. And you'll notice it's giving me a preview of what my extrude is going to look like. However, that's the depth is too large. So it's too high, it's gone up too high. So I am going to change it to 9.6. And again, I want to press tab. And it gives me a preview. That looks about right. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to green tick it. There. Again, if you get a bit lost, you can come back to that. Now, if I hold down, and you have to hold down the right button on your mouse, you can actually start to orientate yourself around the object, which I think is quite cool. So you can see all the different parts of it. Again, if you get lost, because now I'm looking at the bottom, that is the bottom, back over to here, drop down, isometric, it takes me back to this view.